Canto 28. Summary. It is noon on Holy Saturday. Our travelers have left the 8th ditch behind and come now to the 9th, where they find the schismatics. After the narrator offers a flourish of intentionally inadequate similes, highlighting the great number of souls that inhabit this ditch, he prepares his readers for the kind of punishment they are about to see. Here the schismatics, those who wickedly and fraudulently divided relationships and societies, are themselves divided, chopped, and otherwise mangled. The first person Dante sees is Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Dante the poet assumed, with the majority of medieval Christians, that Muhammad was originally a Christian who broke ranks. In this light, he is a schismatic tearing apart something that ought to have remained whole. He is graphically described as being sliced in two from his chin to his groin, and he pulls apart the two sides to demonstrate to Dante the extent of his punishment. A demon slices, cuts, chops, or in some other fashion divides each sinner. Then they walk around the ditch while their wounds close up again, only to have them reopened when they return to where the demon is positioned. Mohammed asks about Dante and Virgil, assuming they are dead and on their way further down for punishment. Virgil corrects this mistake and reveals that Dante is actually still alive. This causes all the sinners to stop in their tracks and take notice of the odd pair. Muhammad then gives Dante a message to bring back with him to the sunlit lands. After this, the soul of Pier del Medicini, another schismatic, also asks the pilgrim to deliver a message, this one for two elders from Fano, Guido and Angiolello, who were about to be treacherously drowned. Medicini identifies the tyrant by means of his lacking one eye. It is Malatestino of Rimini, which is the city one here with me could wish he never saw. Dante then asks Medicini to show him that man who wishes he never saw Rimini. The sinner does so, moving the jaw of a fellow sinner whose tongue had been cut out. This is Curio, fellow conspirator with Julius Caesar, who affirmed the counsel that led Caesar to cross the Rubicon. This advice was given, according to Dante, at Rimini, which led to the schism of Rome and to Curio's own punishment here in the 9th ditch. Yet another soul, the one with his hands chopped off, asks to be remembered, one Moscia Lamberti. His counsel to revenge a certain wrong done in Florence by means of murder is said to have been the beginning of the Guelph-Ghibelline divide, an evil seed for the Tuscan people. His words, "The thing finished is at its end," refer to the assumption that once revenge is taken, all scores will be settled. Unfortunately, though unsurprisingly, instead of ending the strife, it created far more. Lastly, Dante is confronted with the appalling appearance of Bertrand de Born. Allegedly, he became the counselor of Prince Henry, the younger son of Henry II of England, sowing discord and division between father and son. His confession finishes the canto, concluding with the famous word contrapasso, or retaliation. This is the word that describes the whole system of punishment Dante creates in hell. As Aquinas says, reciprocity, contrapassum, implies a compensatory instance of being acted upon that is equal to a preceding action. Summa Theologiae, second part, question 61, answer 4. Dante takes this definition and expands it to mean, roughly, that sinners in hell become defined by their sin. Their punishment literally matches the crime. Canto 28. Schismatics. Who, with unfettered words, could ever speak in full the blood and wounds that I now saw, even though many times he told the tale? Certainly, every tongue would come up short, for our language and our memory have just a small space to remember so much. If one gathered again all the people who have already, on the fateful plains of Apulia, wallowed in their blood, because of the Trojans and the long war, that made such extensive spoils of the rings, as Livy writes, who does not go astray, with those who felt the pain of the fighting, from standing opposite Robert Guiscard, and others whose bones are still collected at Caperano, where all were liars, each one from Apulia, and there where the ancient Erard conquered without arms at Tagliacozzo, were each one to show their limbs chopped hacked or pierced, nothing would come close to the manner of that filthy 9th ditch. Surely a barrel, missing a mid-board or a sideboard, was not so torn apart as one I saw, ripped from chin to fart-hole. His entrails were hanging between his legs, his vitals, with that sad pouch which makes shit from that which one swallows, were visible. While the whole sight of him assailed my eyes, he was gazing at me, and with his hands opened his breast, saying, "See how I rend me! Behold now how mangled is Mohammed! Before me goes about Ali, weeping, his entire face split from chin to forelock. And the rest you see here were, while living, sowers of scandal and schism, and so, therefore, they are apart themselves thus split. A devil is here behind that adorns us so cruelly, putting each of this kind, time and again, to the edge of the sword. For when we walk around the painful road, our lacerations will close up again before we return and stand before him. But who are you that loiter on the ridge, perhaps in order to postpone going to the penalty your charges demand? He is not yet joined with death, nor does guilt sink him to torment him, my master said. But to give him a full experience, he needs to be led by me, who am dead, through this hell here below, from wheel to wheel. This is as true as me speaking to you." There were more than 100 hearing him that stood still in the trench to observe me, marveling, forgetting their suffering. "Now tell Brother Dolcino to prepare you that perhaps ere long will see the sun, if he does not wish to follow me, such provisions, so that the mass of snow brings no victory to the Novares, that otherwise would be hard to acquire." While holding one foot suspended above, Mohammed spoke this word to me, but then set it down upon the ground to depart. Another one that was pierced in the throat, whose nose was cut off up to the eyebrow, who only ever had a single ear, standing there, marveling, observing me with the others before anyone else, opened his windpipe, fully vermilion, and said, "O you whom guilt does not condemn, whom I saw up above in Italy, unless similarity misleads me, remember Pier da Meticini, if ever you come to see the sweet plain that slopes from Vercelli to Marcabo. And let the 2 elders of Fano know, both Messrs. Guido and Angiolello, that unless we here see a head in vain, they will be tossed from their vessels in sacks weighted down by rocks near Cattolica, through the treason of a spiteful tyrant. Between the islands of Maiolica and Cyprus, Neptune never saw such sin, not from pirates nor the Argolians. That traitor that sees just with the one eye and holds of the city a certain one here with me could wish that he had never seen. He will have them come to parley with him. Then such will be that neither vows nor prayers will they need for the winds of Forcara." Then I said to him, "Show me, and declare if you desire I bring up news of you. Who is that one with the better vision?" Then he stretched out his hand to the jawbone of his companion, and opened his mouth, crying out, "This is he, but he cannot speak. Exiled, this one drowned the doubts in Caesar by affirming that he who is prepared and hesitates always suffers great loss." Oh, how taken aback Curio seemed to me, with his tongue cut out from his throat, who used to be so unafraid to speak. Another, with one and the other hand cut off, raising his stumps through the grim air, such that blood was making his face filthy, cried, "Remember also Moshe," that said, "Alas, the thing finished is at its end, an evil seed for the Tuscan people." I added, "And death to your families," at which, heaping sorrow upon sorrow, he moved off, as one demented and mad. But I stayed behind, observing the group, and I saw a thing that, with no more proof, I would fear even to consider it. Were it not that conscience reassures me, that good companion that fortifies man beneath the shield of knowing itself pure. Truly I saw, and it seems I still see, a trunk without a head, walking around as the others of the sad flock did walk. He was holding the chopped head by the hair, hanging from his hand just like a lantern. He was gazing at us and said, "Oh me!" Of himself he fashioned himself a lamp, and they were 2 in 1 and 1 in 2. How it can be, he who so governs knows. When he came right to the foot of the bridge, he raised high the arm with all of the head, so as to bring his words closer, which were, "Now behold the maddening penalty, you who, breathing, go observing the dead. See if there are any as great as this. And so that you may carry news of me, understand that I am Bertrand de Born, who gave wicked comfort to the young king. I made father and son hate each other. Ahithophel did no more for David and Absalom with his wicked counsel. Because I thus divided persons joined, I carry my head divided, alas, from its foundation that is in this stump. Thus one sees in me retaliation.